Assalamu alaikum, hello construction world and welcome. Want to know what the number one pandemic is across the world right now in the construction industry? Not paying your bills. Number one across anywhere where it is in the world, if you're not paying your bills, you're bringing in what I'm calling the bottom feeders into the construction industry.
Have you ever felt?
Are you listening? Damn. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Welcome back guys, Chris James from Oryx Consulting here with our Oryx Talks. This week I want to talk about one of the things that I believe is wrecking, and it's widespread throughout the construction industry. I saw it when I was working in Australia. It was pretty rife there at the time. I'm sure it still is. It's definitely rife here throughout a lot of the GCC region. And I know that there's certain people in all parts of the world where you're not getting paid for the work that you're doing. And the reason that this is a very big problem is that the people that should be doing the work, the experienced people, the people that have all of the knowledge, have all of the equipment, the tools, the people and so on and so forth, aren't winning the work because they don't want to go and do projects that they know they are not going to get paid for. So what happens is what you will have what I call, and don't take this as too much of a negative, but I call them bottom feeders. And the reason why I call them that is they will come in and do the job. They will sit there and they will wait for their money. The problem is with a lot of these companies is they don't have the resources, they don't have all of the knowledge or the equipment, and it's a big on-flow effect. The on-flow effect is that, let's use it as an example, you've got a company that doesn't have the equipment. So then this company that has won the contract then has to go out and rent the equipment. So the people that they're renting the equipment from don't get paid for the rental of the equipment. Those people that are sending the equipment to that project and they're not getting paid, they can't pay their suppliers. It is an onward effect that goes right down the line. And a lot of these companies that come in and do this work or attempt to do the work in some instances, they don't hang around for long. Their quality of work, and I'm not saying not always, but their quality of work is not always there. And it's by not paying the money, you're affecting the outcome of your infrastructure that you want to put into the ground. You're affecting all kinds of areas where you're taking a risk that just shouldn't be there, you know. Risk is something in the construction industry that you should be so hell-bent on limiting at every turn that you can. Just because you think that you can get away with not paying someone for a 6-month period and think that you're saving money, it's laughable at best, and I don't understand what the mentality is behind it, because at the end of the day, you put people offside. You put the right people who you should be doing the work with and doing, forming a partnership and an alliance with the right construction companies. They sit back. There's plenty of people I've spoken to in the last month or so now who are just sitting back saying, hey, listen, we can just park our equipment up. We don't need to be involved in these games where it's a race to the bottom. I had a good friend of mine in Australia. He ended up closing his construction company down for the simple reason that, they wanted them to quote these big projects. Right at the 12th hour, they would always lose out on the job to someone that was always cheaper, okay? The problem with that was this cheaper company then had to come to this company to hire their equipment. And this is where the project was never done for that cold hard price that they said they were going to do it for, this magical price. I know in Australian contracting, they always, they've got all these tick in the boxes, and, there's got to be so much, it's not just the price that they go off, and this is what they tell you all the time. I've seen it firsthand, and it's they can tell me that to their blue in the face, but I can tell you from experience that's not how it necessarily works. And some of these people that were winning the projects, they're all out of business now. They're not there anymore. But the unfortunate part about this is this company, who was, I would call them a gold standard infrastructure and pipeline company, they didn't go broke. They just decided to sell all their equipment and close shop because it wasn't worth doing the projects anymore. All of those experienced people then went out and had to find more work. It's always an onward effect. That equipment, that core group of equipment that they had, then got distributed between many, many different companies, and then subsequently a lot of those companies went broke because they were trying to do work at a cost that you just can't do it for. And this is, I always compare the Emirates here to when I was here in 2005 and what it is like now. A lot of what I call the gold standard construction companies, they're taking a backward step at the moment. They're not going to sit there and play silly games racing to the bottom because someone's not going to pay them. I did that with my equipment in Australia. If you weren't going to pay the money and you didn't believe that my services were worth the money that I put on the table, then I would sell my equipment, and that's what inevitably I did in Australia. There was a downturn at the time, but it was one of those things where I had to make some cold hard decisions that, is my worth valued? And at the time in Australia, I didn't believe it was, and that's why I came back to the Middle East. And I'm not saying all projects all around the world are like this, but there is so much waste and so much negative production. I call it production destruction, because you haven't got the right contractors in place. When I was here in 2005, the Emirates would want something built, whether it be a road, a bridge, a pipeline, whatever the infrastructure may be. They went out to tender, and it was large companies who came and built those kinds of things. And they were what I call Western companies, and companies that had a lot of experience across the globe building these kinds of things. Now, I've seen this. These companies are still here, don't get me wrong, but a lot of these companies are being temporarily replaced, because that's honestly all it will ever be, is temporarily replaced with cheap contractors from undeveloped countries. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. We were using cheaper contractors from undeveloped countries, but we were managing them, we were training them, we were giving them experience in what it is that we needed and what we wanted from these guys. Now, that middle layer of that educated Western style contractors, they don't seem to be here much anymore. And what I see project after project after project when I'm driving up and down these roads is waste. And the waste comes from bringing poor habits in undeveloped countries into developing countries like we are here in the Emirates. I mean, there is no reason for this. In 2005, we were far more productive just visually driving up and down the roads and watching what was happening here in 2005 to what we are now in 2020. We should be moving forward. We shouldn't be stepping backwards. And it's something that it really infuriates me, if you can't already tell from my voice, but it shouldn't happen. It just should not happen. Now, sometimes it's difficult. 2020, there's a spanner has been thrown in the works for 2020, and I'll give you an example here in the Emirates. we had the World Expo, 2020 World Expo. Now, of course, that's been postponed one whole year. So that was always going to be a nightmare for the government departments on how they were going to pay contractors and the work to be done and everything like that. And I'm sure it's all being worked out, as it always does over here, you know, and I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just trying to bring to light some of the problems and what I see the issues are here. Just because you get a cheaper price does not mean that you're getting the same product at a cheaper price. Always remember that. You know, there's Rolls-Royce companies who know what they're doing, and they come at a cost. And the reason is because of all the behind the scenes, the knowledge and the understanding of doing that project. Now, what we try and do with Oryx Consulting, we try and help any contractors, whether it be a local contractor or an experienced Western contractor for that matter, to introduce them to some new technology, some new machines, whatever the case may be. Even sometimes it's going back to basics, because a lot of companies seem to forget, as technology is growing, some of the basics seems to be thrown out of the window. So we're trying to, it's a nice fusion of both is what we try and help our customers with. But what we find with a lot of these contractors from undeveloped countries, I shall say, they know best. They know everything. You cannot tell them. I've had stand-up arguments about production with some of these companies, and this is in their offices after they've invited us to come and help them build projects faster, smarter, and leaving more money on the table for themselves, and building a quality product at the end of the day. It seems as though production and profit are almost a dirty negative word to them. They don't understand why they need my help to make more money. One company in particular, it's a standout for me. I said to them, okay, if you introduce these 3 machines, I can replace 50% of the machines you're currently using. We asked how they were currently building projects. And I can at least remove 50% of your workers and double your production. Now, that was not a stretch. They were using technology that, you know, we haven't used since the 60s in pipeline production in Australia. Pipeline construction, I should say. And the discussion went from, okay, this is what we can do. I know it sounds too good to be true, but here's some video footage of this equipment working. This is what it's going to do. It's going to replace these people. It will reduce your risk. Then it turned into a little bit heated and a little bit more heated, until it was the point that you knew that you were not going anywhere with this particular customer, and they knew better. To this date, this was almost 12 months ago, they are still building their projects exactly the same way. They are throwing money away every single day. For what? I don't know. I really will never understand why they do this. And it's something that I will never understand why. There is no rhyme or reason to it, you know. You need to be productive, and if you are the owner of that infrastructure and you're having this built, it's up to you to get the right people to build that, not the cheapest people, the right people. Now, if they happen to be the cheaper option, fantastic, that's great. But they need to have runs on the board. And if you are not going to pay those people in a timely manner, then the gold standard constructors of the world they will disappear. They will go to where their worth is respected and where they will get paid. It's just how the world works. You know, I look back at the pipeline industry that we had in Australia and where it is now. You know, there's still some great hands there and there's some fantastic knowledge, but it seems to be that the basics have gone out the window. There's been a couple of you know, they made a little bit of money projects in Australia, but nothing like what it used to be. And I think the world needs to get away from this, okay, we're going to keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result. Sometimes it's better to take a step back and say, okay, what's going wrong here? One of the things we always like to do when I work for a big construction company in Australia, we had a lessons learnt at the end of that. Now, they were great for getting an understanding of some of the things that went wrong, some of the things that went right. But in the latter years that I worked for them, they never did anything with that information, you know? And this is where I just get infuriated with, there's no need for it. We have technology these days. It's 2020. There is some excellent technology. There's some excellent people. There's knowledge out the wazoo right now. We need to encapsulate this. We need to grasp it, and we need to get the best, not only for the customer who wants something built, but for the contractor. If the contractor can't make money at the end of the day, well, what the hell are you doing it for? You know, it's all about, everyone along the way needs to make money. And if you are not paying your bills, which I think is the most basic of things that you can do, you know, I remember times when I was not getting paid by my clients, but I still paid every one of my bills. And the reason that was no matter what happened, if I needed something urgently, parts for a truck or parts for a machine, whatever it may be, they would go, my suppliers would go over and above to help me because I've always paid my bills. And that's something you need to understand, that if you're going to pay the bills, you hold the reins to that project. You can ask the contractor for doing what it is that you want, particularly, you know, like when you don't pay your bills, you don't really have a leg to stand on, and all you're going to do is continue to bring in those, what I call the bottom feeders, who are not going to give you the service that you want, the information that you want, or build the project that you need in a timely manner, and, you know, with all of the right with all of the right safety protocols, with all of the right quality for the project, all of those kinds of things that should go without saying these days in 2020. So look, it starts with the basic, guys, is where I really want to emphasize this point. If you want if you want to be at the top of your game in anything, learn to pay your bills, you know? Pay the bills, get the right contractors working for you, build your infrastructure as quickly as you can so you can get on to the next one, you know? We're not talking about rip, tear, bust or anything like that, but I'm talking about getting the basics right to invite the right environment for the right people to come in here, you know? And you should be moving ahead as a society. You shouldn't be moving backwards. And it's something that I see across the board. And I'm not just having a shot at, you know, here in the Emirates or anything like that. It's not just here. It's in Australia. It's in the USA. You know, there's so many areas that I see that people can help and save money from the client to the contractor to their subcontractors all alike. It doesn't have to be difficult, you know. It's just about getting the basics right and doing right by everyone. So it's a bugbear of mine. It's something that I really you know, was worried about talking about. Well, worried in a respect because you know, some people take offence to some of these things, but at the end of the day, it has to be said. These things are apparent, you know. I can drive from here, I only have to drive 2 minutes down the road, and I'm looking at a project that they're dumping rock and moving rock 6 times from when it comes to the project before it gets to where it needs to go. How you can make money like that, I don't know. I know that they are making money because they're just not paying people. It's the talk of the town around here. If I drive another 10 minutes from here, I see another project where, you know, I've posted some of the incompetencies that I see on these jobs. 5 times I've been to see their project manager and say, I can replace those 8 people with 1 machine. Now, it's not just about replacing people. I don't like putting people out of work, but at the end of the day, those people are standing up on top of trailers. They're working at height. They've got, you know, there's no safety equipment. There's no nothing. But you need to get you need to get profitable, but you need to be better than you were yesterday. And you can't be stepping backwards, you know. We were building projects here. I'm going to say nearly 8 times faster in some respects to what I'm seeing out there at the moment, and that's a problem. It's not moving the right way. It's moving backwards. So that's only going to cost you money. It's going to cost you more money in the long run. You're tripping over $2 to pick up 5 cents, and this is where take a step back, have a bit of a think about what it is that you want to do and build, and then how are we going to attract, how are we going to get the right environment to get the right people in here. I feel proud to be here in the Emirates. I've always liked it here. I think the people are absolutely fantastic, and the Emiratis, fantastic, wonderful people, but I always, even when I was here in 2005, I kind of thought that we were taking advantage in some way of some of these guys, but and that's why I wanted to set up Oryx Consulting, is to help the locals here and help them develop their skills, that I can walk away and say I helped that company, build their crew, train their crews up, and they should be as profitable as what we were in the early days in Australia building pipelines. There's no reason why it wouldn't be that way. We did it in 2005 when we got here. We had a lot of people working here that had never, I had motorcycle mechanics from Karachi in Pakistan working on 90-ton pipe layers, and it was scary when I first got here. These guys were extremely dangerous. By the time I left, I spent day after day after day in the field training them and helping them develop their skills. Those guys, I would love to see where they are this day and age. They did an exceptional job when I was here in 2005, and so long as they kept getting the training, they would have developed more and more and better skills over the years. And that's where we should be moving. Doesn't matter where we are in the world, and I don't care whether it's undeveloped, developing, or developed parts of the world. You should always be moving forward and move ahead. And I think it starts with getting rid of the waste and paying your damn bills, man. Like, just pay the bills, and you will see what happens after that. You will attract the right people. You will bring in that knowledge and that understanding and the right equipment to build your world the way that you want it. So look, guys, one of my little rants on Oryx Talks this time, and it's a rant that I believe needed to be done not only for my sanity, but it might only hit one person out there who gets it, who understands that, hey Chris, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So reach out to us. I'd love to hear your feedback. Keep it respectful as always. And if you are a contractor from an undeveloped country, or you're in a developing country and you want some knowledge and some understanding, that's what we're here for. We're here to help. We're here to pass our knowledge on to you and your workers, so you can continue that drive forward and that ambition to be better than you were yesterday. So bit of a rant this week, but thanks for your time. Thanks for listening as always, and leave a comment. Make sure you subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell so you always keep updated with our latest and greatest videos that we post. So thanks very much for your time, and until next week, much love from me here at Oryx Consulting. Have a safe and prosperous week, guys.